Coming up, former Hawkeye football players call out racial discrimination in Iowa football.
And later, the Iowa City Women's March makes their voices heard before the election.
Welcome to DITV Now, your flash update on all the biggest headlines coming out of the Daily Iowan newsroom. I'm your host, Elizabeth Neruda.
And I'm Ashley Wheel.
Over the weekend, 8 former Iowa football players spoke up about racial discrimination they experienced during their time on the team. DITV Sports Director Kate Overton tells us what the players are asking for in reparation.
Over the summer, the Iowa football team was going through a culture change after many players spoke up about racial discrimination within the team. Now, 4 months after dropping strength and conditioning coach Chris Doyle, the former players are wanting more. 8 black former University of Iowa football players are demanding the removal of head coach Kirk Ferentz, offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz, and athletic director Gary Barta, claiming they were subjected to intentional race discrimination by the coaching staff and administration in their time as Hawkeyes. Akram Wadley, Aaron Mans, and the 6 other former players are represented by attorney Demario Solomon Simmons, who sent the letter to UI President Bruce Harold, Gary Barta, and both Kirk and Brian Ferentz on October 5th in an attempt to resolve matters before filing suit. It was said in the letter that if the demands were not met by today, October 19th, then they would proceed with the lawsuit. More demands included a payment of $10 million for their loss of professional opportunities and the pain and suffering they said they experienced at Iowa, as well as a $10 million fund to compensate other athletes for the discrimination and ongoing severe and pervasive acts that constitute intentional discrimination. The UI has already responded to the letter, declining the group's demands, and also went on to say that the clients are more than welcome to meet with the university to, quote, determine their interests in participating in activities that assist in meaningful changes within the Iowa football program, unquote. All this comes out just a week before Iowa opens up their season against Purdue. It'll be interesting to see how the team performs despite the conflict.
Thanks, Cade. For more on the story, head over to thedailyiowan.com.
This weekend, a small but mighty group of around 20 gathered in the pedestrian mall with homemade signs and pink hats to support the Women's March. Many marchers showed up because of the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the upcoming presidential election.
I think we're in the most important election, I feel like, in a long time, and that we need more people to vote. Like, young people don't realize that they can vote, and they should, and they don't really realize what's going on, I feel like, too.
Participants were most concerned about the appointment of Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett and the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
I will fight! I will fight! I will fight!
Even though many events have been pushed online due to COVID-19 restrictions, participants felt it was important to have this march in person to show that the fight for women's rights wasn't put on hold.
I think we all have so many virtual events right now. We're doing Zoom in church, we're doing Zoom for meetings, we're doing Zoom to meet our families. There's just nothing that substitutes for being together, even if we have to be 6 feet apart, you know, or wear masks. We're together. This is solidarity.
The Iowa City chapter of the Women's March hopes to stay active during this election season, despite challenges brought on by COVID-19 and weather.
Community crisis services and food pantries continue to adapt to COVID-19 while providing Iowa City community members with food and other services. COVID-19 has made community crisis services and food pantries take a look at how they can best serve and meet the needs of those who need help.
So the adjusting hours is a part of that. Since COVID, we've actually had to modify our entire delivery system.
Community has gone from a shopping cart style to having prepackaged bags and has implemented a food delivery service as well. This adjustment allows for less contact between volunteers and those who are utilizing their services, which is safer for everyone. Community has seen an uptick in those using their services since the pandemic struck.
We actually are giving out more food. This last year, we actually gave out over 2.2 million pounds of food. So we've increased the amount of food each person can get to help minimize the number of times that they need to come back to the food bank.
On top of the food pantry, Community offers a 24/7 suicide prevention hotline and crisis outreach services. For more information on Community, visit buildbycommunity.org.
Area areas in Iowa City are starting to open up despite rising COVID-19 numbers. The University of Iowa Main Library has extended its hours to include the weekends, 1 to 5 p.m. Previously, the library was open for a limited time.
One important reason is to enhance safety. Our occupancy records show that we've been well within our safe numbers in the building, and we'd really like to work to keep it that way. So as the weather turns colder and students will be looking for places to study for midterms and finals, we're realizing that they're going to need some extra time.
This will ensure students are able to rely on the library as a study space more often. Iowa City bars have also reopened. Health professionals are unsure if it will cause higher case numbers as people have continued to get together despite social distancing guidelines.
When the more people who are together indoors, interacting with each other, breathing on each other, we know the greater the risk. And so there isn't necessarily anything unique about, say, a bar versus an apartment. You know, if it's all about the density of the people and how they're interacting and the ventilation in that space.
As Iowa City continues to open up, it is important to remember to be aware of who you are around, wear your mask, and go to safe places that enforce the proper safety precautions.
Joni Ernst and Teresa Greenfield went head-to-head in an Iowa State Senator debate Friday. DITV reporter Danny Whiskeyman has all you need to know from the event and about the candidates too.
Thanks, Elizabeth. As many of us get caught up with the presidential race, it's easy to forget about the Senate race between Republican Joni Ernst and Democrat Teresa Greenfield. In their debate Friday, one of the biggest points was that a lot of Iowans don't have affordable health care. Senator Ernst repeatedly voted against the Affordable Care Act because she believes that repealing it would lead to lower prescription drug costs and better health care. Greenfield supports the ACA. She wants to expand it to include a public option and make medication more affordable. Racial justice is also an important issue with voters. Greenfield has said that she believes systemic racism is something that needs to be fixed in our country. Senator Ernst followed up by saying she does not believe that systemic racism exists broadly across Iowa. Finally, Ernst and Greenfield discussed agriculture, which led to a controversial statement by Senator Ernst. When asked about the prices of a bushel of corn, Greenfield knew exactly how much each cost down to the penny. But when Ernst was asked the same question about soybeans, she didn't have an answer. For more on the state and local races on the ballot, visit the Daily Iowans Voter Guide online.
If you're tuning in from Iowa City, it might be time to break out your winter coats. Today's high is 39 degrees and the low is 31. We'll also see some showers this morning that will carry on into this afternoon.
Thanks for tuning in to DITV Now.
We'll be back tomorrow with the latest from the University of Iowa, Iowa City, and Hawkeye Nation. From Iowa City, I'm Ashley Wheel.
And I'm Elizabeth Neruda. Have a great day.